Alright, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can use Fspy to calculate the position of a camera of a image that was taken with a real camera. That way you can import it into Blender and then add stuff to the image and have it look correct for the most part. And just in case you don't know what I'm talking about, this is pretty much what I'm talking about. Stuff like this. See, this background, the sidewalk, that's just an image. Now, once I calculated the position of the actual camera that was used to take the image, I could, using Fspy to do that, I could import that information into Blender, and then I could add stuff like this zombie dancing into the picture and make it look legit. And here's another example of it. Basically, a little spaceship shooting, and of course this is just an image. And of course you have the shadow, and the shadow was warped on the side. So yeah, it can come in handy. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. I will put a link to this in the description of this video. You need to download this, which is the Fspy. It's a standalone program. And if you're using Blender, download the importer, which is an add-on. That way you can import the Fspy project into Blender. It makes it much easier. Alright, let's go ahead and get started, and we're going to start with the Fspy project. Now we need an image to import into this, so let's go ahead and find an image on Google and we'll start there. And to make this easy, we're just going to search for a sidewalk image. Alright, and I'm just going to go to images, and let's see, I'll find one that looks halfway easy. And what I'm looking for is one with straight edges, because Fspy, it relies on 90-degree it relies on vanishing points. And in order to create a proper vanishing point, you need 90 or straight lines in this image. Like a sidewalk works good for a straight line, obviously. And you have a straight line here and a straight line here. And eventually they vanish off in the distance. And that vanishing point is the point at which they intersect off in the distance, even though it technically would never actually intersect. It uses that information to calculate the position of the camera relative to a surface. In this case, the surface would be like the sidewalk. Alright, now this right here is actually the same image I used in the other one, so I might as well go ahead and use that one. Open image, a new tab, and I'm going to click save image. I'm going to put this in a folder named Fspy. Of course, you put it in whatever you want. Alright, now I'm going to go back to Fspy, file, open image, and then I'm going to open or choose the image I just downloaded. Alright, if you're familiar with Blender, I'm assuming you are, you have your x-axis, which is left to right. You have your y-axis, which is front to back. And then you have your z-axis, which is up and down. Alright? So, you want to, generally speaking, you want to put one of the x-axis below the center of the image and another one above the center of the image. You want to put one of the y-axis left of the center and one of them right of the center. It works best, in my opinion, if you do it that way. Now you can set these, you can use whichever vanishing point you need. Like, for an example, if you wanted to use a wall instead of a sidewalk as the frame of reference, you would obviously use a z-axis in addition to an x or y. But in this case, we're going to use a sidewalk. So we're going to use the X and Y. I'm going to use this line right here, and I'm going to use this line because those are nice, easy to see points of reference. I'm going to go ahead and turn off dim image so that I can actually see it better. Alright, I'm going to left click on the X-axis and just drag it to about right there. And then on the other end, left click, drag it to about right there. Doesn't have to be perfect, but the more accurate it is, the better off you'll be. Alright, then with this one, I'm going to do the same thing. Left click, drag it to about right there. Left click, drag it to about right there. Alright, now I need to do the Y-axis. Alright, going to left click, and I'm going to just use this edge right here, the grout line. Left click to drag. Alright. And then the same with this one. Left click. And then I just use the grass as the edge. Now, all of a sudden, when we put this last one in place, we see that XYZ axis thing show up. Now, the Z axis is upside down. So if we want to flip that around, all we have to do is change it from minus Y, or pardon me, from Y to minus Y. Alright. Now, what we need to do, because right now it's actually created a calculation. It's determined where the camera is, but we need to double check it. So, right here where it says 3D guide, the easiest one that I've found for this is to use the box. Now the box, you can see it, but it's not showing up very well. So I'm going to go ahead and click back on dim image. And the idea of this box is, if I move this box around, the edges should match up with the horizontal lines of stuff in the scene. Like if I was to move this over to the left, it should match up with the edge of the sidewalk. Same way if I move it over to the right, it should match up here. Now, if we look at the pole right here on the Z-axis, these poles are going to be going straight up and down. But the Z-axis is a little off. I'll verify on another one. See, it's a little off there, but not as bad. A little off there, but not as bad. Same way with the edges of the cube going up and down. So we know our scene is a little off. So what we need to do is just grab one of the points. Generally speaking, the front to back axis, which is in this case the Y axis. If we just make a small adjustment, we'll see this get match better. We'll just grab this, and then just, if we move it over to the right, it goes to the incorrect direction. If we move it to the left, there we go. Now it's pretty much perfect. See? The line goes straight up the pole. The edges of the sidewalk match the cube. And see these, like right here, the horizontal poles on the fence actually match the horizontal line on the cube. So right now we know we have a good solve. So at this point, all we do is go to File, Save, and then I'm just going to name this any name. It really doesn't matter. I'm just going to say Fspy Toot, and then save. Alright, now I'm going to downsize this, and I'm going to Blender, and right now all I have in the scene is a camera. We can actually delete this camera because we don't need it. And we come over here to File, Import, and well, this is why you need the add-on, because if you go to Preferences and then go to add-ons, and you install your Fspy add-on like you would anything else. Click install, click on the Fspy zip file and install it. But this is what it looks like. Fspy, basically that's what it looks like. You just check it, it turns on, good enough. Alright, now go to file, import, file, import. Maybe I won't have Butterfingers this time. And then at the bottom you'll see Fspy. Click that. And then if you go to the same folder that you saved your Fspy project, Fspy Toot, in this case, check that and import. And what it does, it imports the image into your scene as a background, and it creates a camera, and the camera is angled. Let me go out of it, and then it creates this camera and puts it at the specific angle that the camera, the real life camera, was in whenever it took the picture. Alright, now what we need to do is we need to add some actual geometry in here, and this geometry will be what makes up the sidewalk. So I'm going to add mesh and then plane. Now this plane will actually serve as something that will catch shadows. Like if we put an object in here, a shadow can be cast onto this plane, and that's how we integrate the two scenes, like the picture scene and the 3D scene that we're adding into it. So now keep in mind, we don't want to move this plane necessarily, because this plane is already at the world origin, and the world origin is basically represents the position of the sidewalk in terms of the z-axis, and the angle of the sidewalk in terms of the x and y-axis in relationship to the camera in 3D space. So we definitely do not want to move this plane, which is going to be the shadow catcher. We don't want to move it at all in the z-axis. We could move it, you know, on the x and y axis, and it would be fine. But if we moved it on the z-axis, we're pretty much messing up the solve. Even though it would still sort of work, it just wouldn't work as good. So with the plane selected, press tab to go into edit mode, go up to edge select, and then grab this edge, or select this edge, and press G for grab and then X for the x-axis, and then just drag it over to that edge. Alright, now select the back edge, G for grab, Y for the y-axis, and then just drag it way back there. Alright, same way with this side, G for grab, X for the G for grab, X for the x-axis, and then just move it over. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and move it over into the grass just a little bit. And the reason why I'm doing that is because if we put an object in here, see how long the shadows are? The shadow will go over into the grass also. So that's why I'm doing that. Alright, going to select this front edge, G for grab, Y for the y-axis, and then just bring it this direction. Alright, now let's create a little bit of geometry here to represent this grout line, and then the actual curve going down, and then part of the road, just in case. Alright, I'm going to select this edge, and I'm going to press 1, go, let me see where I'm at here. Alright, I'm going to press, actually it's going to be, in this case it's actually Control 1, which is backside view. and then 5 to go into orthographic view. Because it's easier if we do it this way, because we want this edge to go down with the grout line, right? So we're going to press E for extrude, and then Z for the Z axis, and then just bring it down just a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. And then E for extrude, X for the X axis, and then just bring it over just a little bit. See what I mean? Alright. E for extrude, Z for the Z axis, and then just bring it up just a little bit. Alright. Now let's press 0 to go back into the camera view. Now if we press E for extrude, and then X for the X axis, we can bring this over to the edge of the curve itself. Alright. Now we press E for extrude, Z for the Z axis, and then bring it down just a little bit to go to the road, and then E for extrude, X for the X axis, and then just bring it out a little bit. Alright. And if we go out of camera view, you can see all we essentially done was make that. And it's just a crude representation of the sidewalk and road surface. Alright. Now press tab to exit edit mode. And we need to tell this plane that it only needs to capture shadows, so that it's basically transparent to everything but shadows. Alright, so click on this tab right here, go down to visibility, and then click on shadow catcher. And that's pretty much all you need to do. It used to be a whole lot more steps to it in previous versions of Blender, but now that's all you have to do. Alright, now let's exit camera view. Alright, and let's add an object in here. Alright, in this case, let's just add a monkey head. Add mesh, and then monkey head. Alright, now I'm going to rotate this monkey head on the Z axis. Rotate Z, and just move it to about right there. And I'm going to rotate it this direction. And then this X axis represents the location of the ground in terms of the Z axis. So I'm just going to grab Z and then bring it up to the surface essentially. Now if we look at it back through the camera, there we go. But I want to go, I actually turned the monkey head the wrong direction, so I'm just going to press rotate Z and then just turn it around like that. That's fine. Alright. And I actually want to move this over just a little bit. Grab X and move it to about right there. And let's go ahead and add a subdivision surface modifier to the monkey head to make it smoother. I'm just going to go ahead and click apply. You don't need to. And I'm going to give this a color. And let's just make him a dark red. And I want to go ahead and make him metallic. Why not? Make him kind of smooth so he's reflective. Well, we don't want to make him too reflective because otherwise it won't look quite right, because we don't actually have an HDRI of this scene. And without an HDRI, the reflections of the trees and buildings and fence and stuff won't be there. So it won't look quite right if we make it too reflective. Alright. Now, if we was right now to put this in rendered view and look at it, as we can see, it does not look right at all. And the reason why it doesn't look right is because we have not finished setting up our camera. we need to go to our camera, or the camera icon, and then we need to tell it that the background of the camera needs to be transparent. So we need to come down here to the film settings and then click on transparent. Now we have the light from the HDRI that is in the scene lighting up the monkey head, and then the monkey head casting a shadow onto the plane, which is a shadow catcher, and the shadow catcher is transparent to everything except for shadows, so it actually looks like the shadow is cast onto the pavement, and it looks like it's cast onto the pavement because the orientation of the shadow catcher is matched to the orientation of the sidewalk. Now we do have a little bit of a problem, and that's the shadows. Now they're kind of angled the correct way, but they're not as long as they should be. The shadows probably should be coming out to about right here. Now, being that the shadow on this is being or the light in this scene is being generated by this HDRI, and the HDRI doesn't match this actual scene, we need to go ahead and get rid of this HDRI. Yours probably won't have it. I have an HDRI set up automatically in my scenes, but in this case we're just going to use a background color, and we're going to make it a little bit, we're going to just turn it all the way up to white, and then turn everything except for the blue down just a little bit so that the light is actually kind of bluish. Alright, now we need to, since it's still got a shadow but it's extremely undefined because the light is just really soft, we need to add another light to the scene in order to generate the shadow that matches what we have here. Alright, so let's go ahead and I'm going to press 7 to go into top side view. I'm going to go ahead and turn off render view. Alright, so we know the shadow should be going this way, so we need to add a light and put it out here and aim it at the monkey head. Add mesh, or not mesh, I'm going to add an area light will probably work. I'm going to grab it, bring it out to about right here. If we press 1, we can see we need to bring it up to about right here, and then if we press rotate, we can aim it at the monkey head. Now if we press 7 to go on the top side view, now we can rotate it right at the monkey head. Now let's go back in the scene and put it back in render view. Now our light is obviously not bright enough. It's only set to 10 watts. Now let's go ahead and turn this up to, let's say, 1,000. It's still not enough. Let's turn it up to 10,000. That looks about right. Now the angle is, it needs to, see, if you look at this angle right here, it's coming forward towards the camera a little bit sharper than this one. So we need to move the area light a little bit further back and then angle it a little bit further forward. Alright, go back in the top side view, grab it on the y-axis and just bring it to about right there, and then rotate it on the z-axis, bring it to about right there. Now that looks better. It's still not quite right. Go back top side view, grab Y, a little bit further, rotate Y. Alright, now let's go back into front side view because it's aimed a little low now. So let's rotate, bring it up just a little bit, go back into camera view, and there we go. It looks much better. The shadow is a little bit sharp in my opinion. If we was to, let's say, turn this up to 2 it looks a little bit better, maybe 4. All right. That's about right. Even the light that's cast on the monkey's face is the same as is on these poles. It's the far left edge towards the back of it that has the light shining on it, so it looks more integrated. All right. Now, as far as outputting this, there's obviously a better way to do it than the way I do it. But I never have messed with the whole layer system in Blender, so I don't know how to do the layers. So how I go about doing this, I'd basically just output this image as a PNG with transparent backgrounds, and then I overlay it in another program, which actually works pretty good in my opinion. So what I need to do is come up here to the printer icon and make sure you do not output this in JPEG. It's got to be, well, I'd use PNG and then use RGBA because the A stands for alpha, and without it being RGBA, you cannot have transparencies. We need transparencies. So I'm going to go ahead and click render image, and the only thing it's going to do right now is just output the monkey head with the shadow and transparent. But see, here's where the magic happens. And again, let me stress this. There is a way in Blender to composite this render onto the background image with layers, but I don't know how to do it. It's just one thing I never had need for, which I actually do now, so I should actually learn how to do it. But anyway, I'm just going to save this as a PNG, as that. Where am I at? Right here. Fspy, and I'm just going to leave it untitled. Then I'm going to downsize this. I'm going to go to Photoscape, which is a free program also. And I'm going to open up the original image, and then I'm going to overlay the render on top of that, which is right here. And there you go. Now if I was to save this, that's how the image would look. But anyway, if anyone has knows of a good tutorial to explain how to use layers, let me know, because that's something I'd like to learn in Blender. But if you have any questions about how to use Fspy for something like this, let me know, and I will do my best to try to answer you. Anyway, I guess that's it. Later, people.